Do you see the crew back there, Jordan? Let's see here. Let me expand to full screen.
We are just waiting on Counselor Pestizo, and looks like everyone else is in the house. And we'll mention, Counselor Pestizo, if you are currently sitting at your desk, just let us know that you're on the other side.
He looks like he's in the panelist group.
He is.
Yeah, he hasn't left. All right, well, why don't we we'll go through the first couple of items, and that maybe by then he'll be back.
I'm here if you're waiting for me.
Oh,
Sorry
yay.
about that.
Yay. No problem. Thank you, Councilor Pestizo. So with that, it is 6:58, and we'll call the regular meeting to regular town city council meeting to order of January 19th. Roll call, please.
Councilor Clark,
Here.
Councilor Panemra,
Here.
Councilor Grader,
Here.
Councilor Pestizo,
Here,
Councilor Byers,
Here.
Councilor Parry Miller,
Here.
Mayor Ayers-Wood.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is 2.1, opportunity to interpret Spanish, meeting into Spanish. Hector?
Okay, this is going to be in Spanish. Pregunta para el público. Si alguien necesitará esta reunión interpretada en español, por favor, alce su mano hoy. And then I'll watch the attendees for anyone who raises their hand. And in addition, we'd like a quick explanation, give a quick explanation on how attendees can participate in the meeting. We would like to let attendees know that if they have the opportunity to speak on any agenda item, including speakers to be heard on non-agenda items, and may do so by raising their hand during that item.
Thank you, Hector. The next item on the agenda is additions or corrections to the agenda. Does anybody have any additions or corrections?
Mayor, this is Jordan. I would like to make a correction to the agenda. I would like to remove item 11.2, the discussion of procedures for candidate elections within the City of Talent. We were not able to adequately gather all the information we wanted for that discussion today.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, seeing no hands being raised. The next item is community announcements. Staff, do you have any community announcements?
We do. Our announcement right now is that City Hall is currently open by appointment only. This is due to staffing shortages from COVID in our community. Our phone lines are accessible, and we really encourage folks to reach out via phone and email to access us and to set an appointment if we do need to meet in person. And that is all from staff. Thank you, Mayor.
How about any other council members? I don't see everybody in my screen. So are there any hands up that anybody sees? Okay. Oh, that's why. Okay, that changed it. So the next item on the agenda is item number 5, speakers heard on non-agenda item. Hector, are there any speaker request forms?
Mayor, when I left City Hall at 5 o'clock this afternoon, there were no emails to our public testimony email account
Thank you.
for speakers to be heard on non-agenda items.
Are there any speakers in the audience that wish to be heard on a non-agenda item? just raise your hand or turn your mic, turn your speaker on or your mic on and so say. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item number 6, which is 6.1 is the appointment of an alternate member to the Public Arts Committee. Staff report?
Yes, we have a recommendation from the Talent Public Arts Committee to have the mayor appoint Kimber Paris as an alternate member. Kimber is a well-known person in the community. She owns, along with her partner, the Art Bop Beer Company and is also an artist.
Okay, thank you. I was excited to see her application. She is a very engaged member of our community, which is always a great sign. And I think that she is going to be a great member of this group. The TPAC has offered me a very enthusiastic recommendation. And so it's my pleasure to ask for the council to affirm the mayoral appointment of Kimber Paris as an alternate member for the Talent Public Arts Committee. I'll entertain a motion. Councilor Perry Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. I am very excited to move to affirm the mayor's appointment of Kimber Paris as an alternate member of the City of Talent Public Arts Committee for a full 2-year term beginning January 19th, 2022.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to affirm the mayor's appointment of Kimber Paris as an alternate member of the City of Talent Public Arts Committee for a full 2-year term beginning January 19th, 2022. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Council Clerk,
Yes.
Councilor Panimero,
Yes.
Councilor Greider,
Yes.
Councilor Pestizo,
Yes,
Councilor Byers,
Yes.
Councilor Perry Miller.
Yes.
Motion carries, Mayor.
Thank you, Hector. The next item on the agenda is departmental reports. Staff?
Thank you, Mayor. We are taking a new approach to our departmental reports, trying to do a more comprehensive singular report coming from the city perspective. It is a work in progress. And for those folks that are listening, we did recently update the agenda packet to have the most aesthetic version on there. So go ahead and re-click that link if you want to see the new one. I do want to just point out a couple quick changes that we hope to have every month for you all. And that would be a little more clear dashboard to show where we are in our permitting process for our rebuilds, as well as a summary of where we are on the major projects that are going on. This is just to help keep you all in the community more up to speed on where delays are occurring and when we can expect projects to finish. So with that, I'd love to open it up to any questions that we have for department heads regarding topics in the report.
Anybody? I do want to just say my hat's off to you for this great report. I sure love the dashboard. It made it really, really clear where we're at in progress. My hat's off to the hard work that you guys are doing to keep us moving along. Is this dashboard going to be available on the website? Did you say that already?
It's currently available in static form. In the agenda packet, we hope to have it in a dynamic form on our website when we launch the new website, hopefully in February.
With that, if there's no other comments or questions, I'm going to go ahead and move us to item number 8, which is a public hearing.
I have a comment, Mayor.
Oh, yes, go ahead, Councilor Clark.
Just going to say I really appreciate the bar graphs. A picture paints 1,000 words, and you can really digest that information quite quickly with that visual, and I really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Clark. I couldn't agree more. Moving us to public hearings, 8.1 is the fiscal year 21-22 supplemental budget hearing. Staff report?
Hi, Mayor. As the council knows, we are doing a supplemental budget this year, primarily due to one, uncertainty at the beginning of the fiscal year of what we can expect post-fire. And then two, because we did see a much larger influx of grant funds than expected and expenditures towards the fire recovery from those grant funds. So first, tonight, we will hold a public hearing to welcome in any public comments about the proposed supplemental budget. And then we will have the opportunity for council to deliberate and decide if we want to go ahead and approve that budget this year. We had it set up where Kurt was going to give a presentation during the hearing, but we're happy to provide it before the hearing, whatever works out best.
That's great. I'll just go ahead and open the public hearing, and then that way Kurt's testimony will be to the hearing record, and we'll go from there. Thank you so much. So with that, I will open up the public hearing for resolution number 2022-040-R at 7:07. And I will hand this back to you, staff.
Thank you. And Kurt, welcome up to provide your report.
Just a brief recap for the purpose of this. If you look at the general fund revenues, you can see that just with House Bill 5006 and the ARPA and other grants, we're looking at $1.2 million or somewhere in that neighborhood of additional funds that have come into the general fund. That gives us the opportunity to accomplish some additional things this year. If we can use some of those funds to increase the appropriations that were done in the original budget. I've tried to give you some detail to the right-hand side of each piece, indicating what is included in those numbers, in the change numbers. So I'm willing to, try to answer any additional questions that you might have about those. Two other things. You'll notice on some of the funds, the fund balance has been increased. Remember that when we approve the budget, when we start working on the budget, we're a number of months ahead of knowing what the actual fund balance is going to be. And we were fortunate that our fund balances were larger than what we had budgeted for the beginning of this year. So I've increased the fund balances on a number of accounts as well, still being conservative there. Another point that that Councilor Panamaroff was interested in, we've increased the property taxes by $250,000. It definitely looks like we're going to even exceed that number slightly. So wanted to make those things clear. We did reapportion some of the FEMA grants and MWAP grants from how we had originally budgeted them. We changed some procedures with FEMA that allowed us to increase the number of dollars that we will receive from FEMA, mainly having to do with the volatile organic compound testing that we required for people to do prior to having their water restored, that were for residences that were affected by the fire. So with us taking on that responsibility and refunding to those that had previously paid for it themselves, that now then becomes eligible for FEMA reimbursement. And so that is also taken into account in this supplemental budget. So I, rather than try to run through every individual line item as far as expenses, if there are specific questions, I'd be happy to answer those and try to give a little bit more detail. if anybody has specific questions. One additional bit of information is that parks, streets, and water funds all occasionally share costs for certain items such as vehicles and so forth. And so the note where it says share to the right-hand side of some of those items, for example, on Parks Fund, you'll see an $8,000 addition to materials and services, and the note is shared. The shared expenses are listed near the bottom of the staff report and shows how those are allocated out. Jordan, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I will open it up to council for questions.
Counselor Penamara?
Thanks. And thanks, Kirk, for figuring out that on the property tax. I think you mentioned before that you had not yet received official information from the county assessor, I guess. And I'm just wondering, is that still the case, that you had to cobble it together from the website Sal reports?
That is still the case. We have not received a copy of that official letter. However, our current numbers indicate that we're going to be well over that $1.2 million. So I believe we've already collected $1.2 million through the current date. So I feel very confident in adjusting that number up.
Yeah, I feel confident in the numbers too. I'm just like, kind of like, why aren't they sending that official letter?
Yeah, I don't really know.
Okie doke.
I will continue. I'll continue to try and contact that just for my own records. But yeah, I think that number is a good number.
Thanks.
I think I just have a comment for the record. I think it's important to mention that Kurt, our finance director, has well prepared us for this amendment, and we started talking about it during the budget process. Kurt saw the need for this back then, and this is just something we've been preparing for since the whole budget process. And I just want to commend Kurt for having such a good handle on this from the very beginning, from the very beginning. Councilor Penamara?
Yeah, thanks. I have a couple more questions on just the items down under the capital improvements projects funds. I'm looking at the Cameron Springs bathroom, which was supposed to be $100,000 and now it's $45,000 higher. And the Creekside play structure, I see an increase of $20,000. I'm a little bit curious about the bathroom, the increase in cost, whether that's higher quality, more ADA or something, or whether it's just because prices are going up. And I'm also curious about the play structure, whether, I think there was some question at one point, whether that would be ADA compliant. And I wanted to find out about that.
I would, Kurt, if you don't mind,
Jordan.
I'd love to invite Brett up to explain both the bathroom and the structure if he's available. Perfect. Oh, Brett, we can't hear you. I can also summarize and Brett can nod if I'm right or wrong. Brett, I'll go ahead and give an attempt on the
Go for
summary.
it.
Perfect. I will say originally with the pricing of the Cameron Springs bathroom and the Creekside play structure, the prices have increased on both of those. The bathroom is primarily due to what was not included in the price was all the things that has to go into placing the bathroom, including putting a foundation in, connecting utilities to it, and doing all the additional work besides just the structure. I'll pause there. Brett, was that a correct summary of that $45,000 cost? Thank you. And then the Creekside play structure, I did attend the last Parks Commission meeting and they determined at that point that Creekside was not the appropriate place to place an all-inclusive play structure. If we are going to have to prioritize parks, they would want it to be a more centralized park that was more accessible by all. But I believe that is an ongoing discussion by the Parks Committee. They have yet to make a recommendation to elevate to council.
Can I ask a quick question about that? So what about that increases the cost by 20,000?
This is one, Brett, where I'm going to hand it. If you're not attached to audio. So my understanding is that originally these prices were priced out by a group at U of O. And what we're finding is all the prices are much lower than actual costs are when we're going to spend these things.
The projected cost is lower than the actual purchase
Than the
price.
actual cost, largely I think due to inflation and rising costs these days. Just the cost of the playground structure is of a regular playground structure is around $80,000.
Can you hear me yet?
Hey, there we go. Okay, Brett can fix that whole play structure.
Sorry about that. I had connected to a Bluetooth speaker so I could hear better, and apparently I cut my mic, so I apologize for that. So yeah, Jordan's 100% correct. We're finding when we went through the budget process, we went to the Parks Master Plan, obviously, and we put those costs in for some of the projects. Having not done the due diligence to find those costs ourselves, we were in, for lack of better words, we were kind of in a crunch. We were in a hurry to get it done. And we're finding that those costs are on the low side. And now that we're getting quotes, and I think it's partially because the numbers were a little bit light in the Parks Master Plan, and partially because of the added costs of construction during the times that we're in.
And just a follow-up question on that.
And going back to the play structure, I apologize. Going back to the play structure at Creekside Park, there was a consensus from the Parks Commission at the last meeting that they would like that to not be an inclusive play structure. Some of the reasons were there's a lack of parking and the accessibility because of where the structure is going to be, that they would prefer to have an ADA or inclusive structure at one of the more accessible parks like Chuck Roberts or the Commons Park. So I'm sure you'll be seeing that come your way for a final decision shortly.
Also, just to add on to what Brett is saying, I noticed that I missed a late edit. If you add up all the interfund transfers coming into the CIP, it's actually 78,000 because we reduced the Creekside play structure add in from 20,000 down to 8,000 since it's not going to be an ADU play structure. So the interfund transfers into the capital improvement projects should be 78,000, and the Creekside play structure should be an $8,000 addition, not a 20. So that would still balance out at 78,000, and the ending balance would be slightly lower, 3,785,000, I believe.
Councilor Penamarath?
Just a follow-up question on this structure, but sorry, Kurt, could you repeat the difference in the price on the bathroom? I just missed it.
No, the bathroom remains the same at $45,000 being
Oh.
added to that budget. It's only the Creekside play structure. Originally, and Brett can correct me if I'm wrong, originally it was projected to be an additional $20,000 because it was going to be an ADA accessible play structure, but the Parks Commission, as Brett indicated, said that they would prefer the ADA accessibility to be placed on another park, which reduced the additional dollars necessary for the Creekside play structure from 20,000 down to 8,000. So, so that's the only difference. The 53,000, the 8,000 for the Creekside play structure and the Cameron Springs bathroom addition of 45,000 is reflected in the Parks Fund intertransfers out of 53,000. And the CIP plan of 25,000 is reflected in interfund transfers out in the general fund of 25,000.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure I really understand about the play structure. I think it's great that the Parks Commission is being thoughtful about this approach, but I feel like there's a tendency to ration when it comes to making things ADA accessible, and I'd rather not do that. Now, if there's an ADA play structure right around the corner that's part of the plan for Chuck Roberts, I don't want to get in the way of that either. But my question is, if we reduce the 20,000 to 8,000 with this supplemental budget, are we pretty much deciding that we don't want to have an ADA structure there for this fiscal year? And if we wish to amend and leave the 20,000 there, we still have the option. Would we still have the option of having ADA accessible on that play structure?
I'll go ahead and answer that one, if you don't mind. You know, doing this current reallocation to the supplemental budget does not close the door for getting an ADA accessible playground there. If we pass the budget with the $8,000 addition to that play structure, you know, we would just make another budget amendment when we are ready to purchase the play structure to increase the cost if Parks chooses to go ADA. So
just to clarify, it's is it a Parks decision or a Parks recommendation
sorry, pardon me,
to the
thank you for
council?
that correction. It'll be a Parks recommendation, a council decision.
I sometimes I don't even know. So perfect. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I would also like to mention on that in the master plan, it was for an inclusive play structure. And I'd have to research it to tell you the exact difference between that and a full ADA play structure, but there are some differences. I believe in the material that's used for the softball. In a inclusive play structure, you can still have traditional type softball, and on an ADA, it would have to be, a harder surface for wheeled mobility. So I don't know exactly what the difference is, but there is a difference between the two. Inclusive allows children of multiple ages to be able to access it, as well as some physically disabled children, but not full ADA.
Thanks, Brett.
I do appreciate the point that this is a master plan amendment, so it'll come before the council fully because the master plan would have to be amended to make this change, even if it's a slight change just in the structure itself. So I appreciate the point that having the higher budget, just in case, having a lower budget would either stop any changes, or if the council didn't want to go that direction, or maybe require another amendment. Would it be just a simple amendment, or is that something we should leave now? Did we conclude about that, or?
It would be if we find that the play structure that council chooses to purchase is more than we have in the funds, we could pass a resolution transferring more into our CIP funds.
Okay.
Or if we put more money into the Creekside play structure now, and we find that we don't use it all, we could reappropriate whatever funds are left over.
Can I ask which is easier for staff?
That's a question I'm going to put to Kurt.
The other thing that we could possibly do is, I believe there's some CIP parks funds that are not allocated to specific projects. We've been putting money in there for the higher parks surcharge that we're required to put into capital projects. And I don't believe all of that's being expended. I'd have to double check, but Brett could, I think, isn't that right, Brett? I believe there's still a pretty good balance there.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what it is, but
I can't
there,
either. But
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's some funds there, and that would be really easy to transfer. We don't even need a resolution to do that. But on the other hand, if we do need a resolution, a simple budget amendment that doesn't even have to be published, we can do it in a regular council meeting. If it's less than 10%, which this would definitely fall under that, that is certainly something we can do. And we could do that very quickly, as a matter of course. So that would be very simple to do that if that's what you wanted to do. It's basically up to the council in how they would like to proceed on this thing. If they want to leave the $20,000 in there, then all we do is go back up to the Parks Fund and make a small edit up there in the interfund transfers out and the unappropriated ending funding balance change. So whatever the council wishes, I'm absolutely willing to go with. The other thing is we're going to start working on a new budget for the new year in 2 to 3 months. And, things don't move really fast in construction around here anymore. And so, we could also put additional dollars into that item in the 22-23 budget as well. So there's a number of ways we can go about doing it.
Great point. Thank you, Kurt. Councilor Byers?
Thank you. So what I'm hearing is if it's just a small edit to keep the $20,000, I think we should. They're better to budget high. There are a number of grants that I've run across as I'm doing my day job that I think would be perfect for this, but we need to apply for them and get them. So let's keep the money in the budget. And if it's easily reabsorbed back into the general fund, that's great. If we're using grants that we get instead.
So that's a great suggestion. I just want to make sure that this is easy for the council. If we did that, would that be a motion with an amendment to the motion? Right, so it would be a motion and then a motion to amend, right? Okay, sounds right. All righty. Jordan, did you want to comment on that? I saw Kurt shake his head, so I took. Yeah.
I want to just do a double check here. I'm currently looking at the amendment. These tables that I pulled are actually, Kurt, from the resolution. So the resolution currently has the 20,000 Creekside play structure already in it. So I don't believe an amendment actually needs to occur.
Well, the only thing we need to do is I did make the edits in the Parks Fund. So all we'd have to do is add $12,000 more to the interfund transfers out and deduct it out of unappropriated ending fund balance. But that's almost a Scrivener's correction. So.
Okay, I'll get us there with an amendment.
Perfect.
All right, so are there any other discussion items? Procedurally, how we'll handle the amendment is I'll be looking for a motion, and then within deliberation, amendments, motions to amend. Jordan? No.
Mayor, if we could, since we're in public hearing, also open it up for any audience members that would like to ask questions.
Yeah, I will, definitely. Councilor Perry Miller?
Thank you, Mayor. I had a brief statement that I was asked to read on behalf of Aubrey, the chair of TPAC, and I'm just not sure when I should do that.
Not now.
Now?
Well, when I get us to testimony, we can enter her statement into the record, and if she wants it read to the record, I think let's take a quick look at the council rules on that. I think it can get entered into the record. I'm not sure that it can get read into the record if I recall correctly. So, but we'll take a quick look.
Okay, and it's not a life or death situation if I can't read it for her.
Okay, Yeah, but it does get into
Merely a statement of thanks.
I just want to make sure that I recall some language around that, and honestly, I don't recall one way or the other how it reads. So let's just get for some clarification on that. Okay, so with that, I will open public testimony. Are there any speaker request forms?
Mayor, I have not received any speaker request forms other than the request from Audrey to read her statement to the record.
Okay, and are there any folks in the audience that wish to raise their hand or unmute themselves and speak to this item, this resolution? Okay, seeing none. And Jordan, are you taking a quick peek at the council rules?
You know, I am, both Hector and I don't have the council rules with us since we're not currently in office. So I'm doing a quick Google here and I have not yet found the answer on our website.
Okay, let me see. I think I have the council rules right here. So if folks will give me a second. Actually, let's just make this easy. I'll ask the council to relax the rules. I'll look for a motion to relax the rules on, relax the council rules on submission to records, whatever that may be. That'll just cover it all. Councilor Byers?
I move to relax the council rules on submission to record.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second to relax council rules on submitting letters to the record. And with that, I'll allow, if I can state the letter writer's name and city for the record, please.
Are we supposed to vote?
Oh, yeah, gosh, I happen to vote. Sorry. Roll call, please.
Councilor Clark,
Yes.
Councilor Penemeroff,
Yes.
Councilor Gray,
Yes.
Councilor Pestizo,
Yes.
Councilor Byers. Councilor Byers,
Yes.
Councilor Perry Miller.
Yes.
Motion carries, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, Councilor Perry Miller, please state the letter writer's name and city for the record.
Thank you, Mayor. So it's Aubrey Laughlin. And she lives in Talent, Oregon. She is the chair of TPAC. And she was hoping that she would be able to attend this meeting, but she had a conflict. So she asked me to read a brief statement from her as the chair of the Talent Public Arts Committee. So, okay, so she says, thank you. The Talent Public Arts Committee would like to sincerely thank the City Council for considering a budget for a public art fund in Talent. Now more than ever, art is a way to bring community together and heal in the aftermath of the Alameda fire and from the impacts of COVID on both businesses and community members in our area. TPAC recently asked Talent community members why art is important to them. Some of the responses included, art is important because it inspires. Art is the only thing keeping me going after losing everything in the fire. Art nourishes the soul every bit as much as food nourishes the body. TPAC hopes to be able to honor the role that art plays collectively within our city by expanding opportunities for its expression and presence through the Public Art Fund. Thank you again for your time and consideration regarding this budget amendment. We are excited about Talent's future. All the best, Aubrey. Thank you all. Sorry, that was so complicated.
Okay, is there any other comments? I just have a question. Are we considering a budget for the Arts Committee?
We have put $4,000 into the Public Art Fund. And we have requested that TPAC make recommendations on how that fund can be used the remainder of this fiscal year.
Okay, that clears it up for me, thanks. All right, is there any other speakers? Okay, seeing none. If there's no other comments or questions from council, I'll go ahead and close this public hearing. All right, public hearing is closed at 7:36. So at this time, I would entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'd just like to make it clear that Jordan is absolutely correct that the resolution as presented before you does include the $20,000 for Creekside. And so no changes would need to be made to the resolution as it stands.
Thank you, Kurt. I appreciate that because I would have looked for that amendment. I really appreciate that clarification. Okay, so unless there are any other amendments, should be fairly straightforward. I would entertain a motion. Council Clark,
I move to approve resolution 2022-040-R, adopting a supplemental budget, increasing resources and making appropriations for the City of Talent for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021 and ending June 31st, 2022.
Second.
we have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2022-040-R, adopting a supplemental budget, increasing resources and making appropriations for the City of Talent for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2021 and ending June 31st, 2022. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Council Clark,
Yes.
Council.
Yes.
Council Greider.
Yes.
Are we losing sound? Hector, you're coming in and out.
Councilor Pestizo,
Yes.
Councilor Byers,
Yes.
Councilor Perry Miller.
Yes.
I apologize about the in and out, Mayor. I'm something wrong with my mic.
Okay, sounds like the motion passes. Thank you, Hector. Next item on the agenda is the consent calendar. Has everybody had a chance to review all the minutes? This looks like a big lift and quite a bit of work. I want to thank the staff for pushing this through. Is there any questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion. Councilor Perry Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
You have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Council Clark,
Yes.
Councilor Penemroff,
Yes.
Councilor Greider,
Yes.
Councilor Pestizo,
Yes.
Councilor Byers,
Yes.
Councilor Perry Miller.
Yes.
Motion carries, Mayor.
Thank you. Item number 10 on the agenda, 10.1 is intergovernment agreement for TAP ARPA funds. Staff report?
Yes, so this is an IGA between Talent, Ashland, and Phoenix that states how we will share that $3 million in ARPA funds that were granted to Ashland on behalf of the partner cities. This IGA identifies how the funds will be administered, who is responsible for what, and how unaccounted for costs will be divided among the partner cities. We're testing out the water master plan recommendation for how to split costs for these types of projects, which is how we come up with the calculations that if there are costs above that 3 million, so the project manager's labor's costs, and if we go over budget, the portion that Talent would be responsible for. I want to clarify to you all that there is still power within the IGA to allow the partner cities to cancel a project rather than actually accrue any overtures. so that there is that safety valve in there.
Can I ask how that would work?
How a project would be canceled or how the cost would be split.
Well, how the project would be canceled, I would assume that any overages would probably appear within the period that the project's being done. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so the way we're going to approach this, so I don't have it up on the screen here. So that 3 million covers, I believe it was about 8 projects out of the tap water master plan, maybe a little more. We're going to bundle the projects and put them out for bid. So we'll first do the first bundle of projects, get the cost estimates and the bids with the contingencies done, and then we'll kind of waterfall it. So if we get to the point where it looks like we'll be more strapped for funds, the partner cities, they meet monthly and can decide if they want to remove a project from one of the bundles.
Great plan. Okay, any other questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion. Anybody? There we go. Councilor Byers.
I move to authorize the city manager to sign the IGA with the city of Ashland and the city of Phoenix for the application of the ARPA funds for the identified tap water system projects.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to authorize the city manager to sign the IGA with the city of Ashland and the city of Phoenix for the application of the ARPA funds for the identified tap water system projects. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Councilor Clark,
Yes.
Councilor Panemarov,
Yes.
Councilor Greider,
Yes.
Councilor Pestizo,
yes,
Councilor Byers,
Yes.
Councilor Harry Miller.
Yes.
Motion carries, Mayor.
Thank you, Hector. Also, Jordan, if you would pass on our gratitude to the city of Ashland for having the foresight to apply for these funds and get them all wrapped up. I think unless the council disagrees, that would be a nice thing to do. Thank you.
We will. That was a big win for all cities.
Yeah. All right, the next item on the agenda is item 10.2, which is approval of contract for fire recovery and resiliency director. Staff report.
Yes, so we are coming to the end of the contract road almost here with the fire recovery and resiliency director position. You know, I do want to provide an update. We had hoped to have a finalized contract in front of you all to approve today. Some revisions have been requested to the contract language itself, and our city attorney was unavailable today to review it. So we will get that reviewed this week and up before you first week of February. But I do want to point out some of the changes that were made at council's direction to better align the scope of work with what staff are doing and to help meet the needs to help us get our homes built and our families back in them. It's been a lot of fun working with John to help paint that picture. And so the scope of work and the deliverables as presented in the contract will remain the same. It's just the contract language that we are working on. So I just want to point out for everyone some of the additions to the scope of work that Healthy Sustainable Communities will provide is the development of goals and metrics around our rebuilding process, creating conceptual plans for city provided housing, and identifying program gaps for better supporting displaced residents. John is also with us today, and he is happy to speak to any of the changes or the visions of this position.
John, are you coming forward to speak to this item?
Oh, good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and it has been a pleasure. And thank you, Jordan Rockland, for the time to work on this. I do believe we have added a few things that are really going to help the city. And this, some of the components that we looked at was a transitional housing component that we were looking at there. I think will better align also working with SOU on some of the commercial outreach, teaming up with them and the Small Business Development Center, which will help on the commercial aspects there. So looking forward to it, and apologize. It was our attorney just getting it back to Jordan today. So, but looking forward to working with the mayor and the council here on this project.
Okay, council, any questions or comments? I think I just have one really brief comment, and that is to say that your delegates who got together on Monday, I think it was, Eleanor, correct me if I'm wrong, it doesn't matter, and went through the scope of work, really just to align it with the RFP, and we feel really confident that staff has done a remarkable job of pulling out the essence of the original intention as demonstrated in the RFP, and put together a great scope of work. We had a good study session, Eleanor and and really I personally was very impressed with this final piece of work. So I want to thank John and Jordan for really digging in, and I think this really delivers on what we're hoping for. Councilor Palmer, if you have anything to add to that.
I don't know if you can't see me nodding. I'm sitting there going,
Okay,
yeah, thumbs up.
Okay.
So yeah, no, it's going to be the collaboration is already there. It's going to be great to see. Really looking forward to getting this signed.
All right, so if there's no other comments, we'll go ahead and move on to our questions really quick. Like taking another look for any hands. I don't see any. Okay. Item number 11.1 is approval of the contract with Green Top Planning, Development and Research for GIS Services. Staff report.
Yes, as council is well aware, we've been receiving a pretty incredible level of GIS services from Nikki Hart Brinkley through the RV COG. She recently left her position at RV COG and is establishing her own business here in the Valley. And so this contract is to continue receiving the services that Nikki Hart Brinkley is providing us, which is including giving us platform administration for the ArcGIS that we have in place, establishing Arc Urban for us, and is really going to have a lot of involvement in the work of the Fire Recovery and Resiliency Director of just helping visualize and get information out there to our community.
Any questions or comments? Councilor Panamarev?
Yeah, I was really pleased to see this as well. I think it'll be great having Nikki's help. I think I read in the contract that she would also be providing training. Did I read that correctly? Yeah, and I was excited to see that. I'm wondering about how many of our staff will have the opportunity to be training, and are these people that is this future staff, or is this, I'm not sure who all it would be. I mean, the more the better, but I was wondering if you could expand a little on that.
Yes, currently we have 2 of our planning department staff are in GIS training, and 1 of our public works staff. These are the groups that are using it the most right now. I would love to spend our capacity beyond just those 2 departments as we better learn what the tools can do. And Nikki has been a great teacher along the way.
Awesome, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion. Councilor Myers?
Thanks. I move to authorize the city manager to sign the contract for GIS services with Green Top Planning, PDR, for a not to exceed amount of $80,000.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to authorize the city manager to sign the contract for GIS services with Green Top Planning, PDR, for a not to exceed amount of $80,000. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Councilor Clark,
Yes.
Counselor Panemarov,
Yes.
Counselor Grader,
Yes.
Counselor Pestizo,
Yes.
Counselor Byers,
Yes.
Counselor Parra Miller.
Yes.
Motion carries, Mayor.
Thank you so much, Hector. The next item on the agenda is 11.2, discussions of procedures for candidate elections within the city of Talent. And that's the one we're taking off. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you, Jordan. All right, with that, then we're on to other business and future agenda items. Is there any other business or future agenda items? Councilor Panamarev?
Thank you, Mayor. I had a fun time attending an ODOT webinar on safe routes to schools. It sounds like there's money there to be had for projects that could really help Talent. I think it starts February 1st, where they'll have the materials actually out on the website. But if I could just bend your ear for about a minute, there's programs, as far as construction, like sidewalks and that sort of thing. They have some very cool educational programs to encourage kids to walk and roll to school safely. And when they have both of those in place, communities tend to have a 45% or so increase in kids walking or rolling to school, which really helps not only health of kids, but also in the environment, but also when, busy schools, people trying to drop off their kids, all that traffic congestion and that sort of thing. So they're also offering planning assistance, where they provide staff to help figure out which projects would be good candidates. And they also have a program that's called like Rapid Response. And I think the applications for that are rolling. And one of the Talent would probably be in a good position because of the fires to write a letter of intent for that sort of money. So because Phoenix got, I think, 1.6 million in 2021 for their sidewalks improvements due to the fires. So I'm just kind of exploring that and trying to write up a really good email that will impress Jordan and Kristen, say like, yeah, you got it right. And maybe pursue that with somebody we need, just the school district basically has to say, yeah, that's a really good idea. Hopefully it wouldn't be a lot of work for staff if we get actually the support from ODOT, the staff support from ODOT, and work towards that. Nothing would really happen. It's kind of a 2-year rolling cycle. So this is just getting started, and it doesn't look too onerous, the application process. So I'd like to, work with staff on that a little bit more, looking for, consent from council. And I'm also like to take a look at the transportation systems plan. And I think there's probably a lot of it is probably really good and usable, but I'd like to take, I'd like this council to take a closer look at it with more of an eye towards really supporting climate-friendly transportation, active transportation, safety in our streets from accidents, that sort of thing. More trees. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to make sure that was cool with everybody.
You're muted, Mayor. Sorry.
I hate it when I do that. I was almost done. So let me start over. Does it make sense that either of these items would be part of goal setting?
Is that a question for me? I think I did say things like bicycle boulevards, and I think I did make a few plugs for this kind of transportation, active transportation things. Did I? Jordan's nodding, so.
Yeah, so what I'm thinking, before I ask for consent, which I will, but I mean, what I'm thinking is since it is longer range planning, it seems like maybe if we could take this discussion to goal setting and really lay out a plan around that, it's just as an item. Is there room for that in goal setting, Jordan?
Yes, what I'm kind of hearing, particularly Councilor Penalmarth lay out, is what I would call implementation steps to help achieve our goal of a more accessible and climate-friendly city. And so I will absolutely add this to some implementation options that council will then discuss of what route we want to take to be able to achieve it. So it sounds like reviewing our TSP could be one of those actions that we take to help us move closer to that goal.
That might be the place for it. Okay, and Councilor Clark, did you have a question or comment? Or I'm going to ask for consent on this item. So is what you have on this item?
No, separate item.
Okay. So let me, I like to ask for consent by asking, is there anybody here that objects to that? Okay, it looks like we have consent, Jordan, without objection. All right. Councilor Clark.
Yeah, was just wanted to let people know that the Bear Creek Revisioning Steering Committee had its kickoff meeting with the consultant who is called Alta Consulting today. And their project to write a master plan for the Greenway in its entirety will be taking place between now and the goal for an end date is September. Which is a pretty short timeline for the comprehensive nature of the project, but they will be seeking public input in the coming weeks and months, and just want to put that on people's radar to be prepared to participate in that process. And incidentally, some of the folks from the county are going to be talking about that project and other projects on the Jefferson Exchange tomorrow morning, in case you want more information.
All right, anybody else for other? I just have one quick ask of staff, if I may. The minutes, I noticed that there's a long list of minutes here tonight, and I'm really glad to see them coming through. That's great. But what I have also noticed is that it takes a while to get the audio up, and formally, I'm sure there's an explanation. So I'm getting to that. But formally, they usually would get up in about 3 days is really what I remember seeing more than anything else. I know that we're having staffing issues. Is there any other barriers to getting up the audio as they have kind of been established already on the record as being our official record?
I will look into that, Mayor, and we'll set the goal of getting it within that 3-day time window.
Thank you. Also know that I do acknowledge that there are some staffing concerns at the time, so happy to just put that on your radar and look for your timing on that.
Appreciate that.
Okay. Are there any others? Is there any other? All right. So with that, we'll go ahead and move on to adjourning the meeting at, wow, 8 o'clock. Nice work, everybody. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Much appreciated. All right. Thank you, Hector. Thank you, Brett.
Have a good evening.